In this video, we will be taking a look at the SRM-20 software installation procedure, specifically for use with the Engraving Accessory Kit. Now, if you're looking for more of a standard SRM-20 installation guideline, I suggest checking out the webpage startup.rolanddg.com, where you can select your language, device series, which would be the monofab for the SRM-20, and this will bring you to more of a standard installation. But to continue on, let's go ahead and get started with this process specifically for the SRM-20 and the engraving kit. To get started, we can review what we will need to install for this workflow. The first step will be the driver used to establish USB connectivity. We will then install vPanel utility. And this is just a simple virtual panel that we can use to interface with the mill, set origins, arrive at park positions, things like that. Lastly, we will get vCarve Desktop installed. This comes standard with the Engraving Accessory Kit, so we'll take a look at how to register, install, and set up that portion of the software as well. So let's get started. First up, I'm going to load up the driver here. And by the way, each of these programs will be linked below, so just look for those if you don't have a reference, if you need to follow along. Starting off with the driver, go ahead and enter this. Select Setup 64 at the bottom. Select Yes on our confirmation, and a very simple driver dialog we want to install for the SRM-20, and we can select Start. I'll give this a moment to load. Select Next on our license agreements and prompts. Alright, and as you can see, pretty quick installation there. We are all set for the SRM-20 driver. Note that if you have a prompt to authorize the SRM-20 driver, please do through the Windows dialog there. So now that we have our driver installed, we can go and move to the second component, which is the vPanel utility. Again, this one will be linked below as well. I'm going to go ahead and launch the setup. Very similar process here. Unpack this, select Next, approve our license agreements, install, and confirm any prompts that come up to authorize the vPanel utility. Alright, now looks like we are all set up, so I'm just going to go ahead and test connectivity. On the monofab side, the SRM-20 is plugged in. I have the machine turned on, and I will now insert the USB. With that inserted, we can go ahead and go to the Start menu and just type vPanel. Looks like our SRM-21 is right on top, so I will select that, and good. Our machine is connected here. If you want to test your connectivity for any reason, you can move to any one of these park positions or origins, and you should hear your machine actuate. Great, so that concludes the vPanel setup. We are now ready to move on to vCarve Desktop. Now, this is a very intuitive and powerful engraving program that really makes interfacing with the SRM-20 much easier. So to get started, let's look at registering this. If you have purchased the Engraving Accessory Kit specifically for the SRM-20, you'll notice in the bottom of the box there will be about a 6x8 decal with your vCarve Desktop license. So just take note of that, because when we go and select our registration link for vCarve Desktop, you will be prompted with a screen like so. Now what you will want to do is insert your contact information here. You will then enter your registration deals, which are written on that decal in the box. Now this one says original registered username. That's the actual first line of your VCarve desktop license. So it may be something like Roland Corporation OEM, a number, and then the software version. Again, written right on the top of the decal. The second license code, you can copy that right over from the second line item on the decal. And once that's all completed, you can submit the registration. Now this will be like any typical online registration. You should have a confirmation to your email. Once completed, you can then access your Vectric portal, which is the manufacturer of VCarve. So once you get there, you will be logged in, and I'll show you what it looks like on my end. So I'm logged in now. This is what you should see after registration. And just take note that if you're looking to download the installer, it's under the software section here. Get a big red download button. Select this, scroll down, and you should see an installer for VCarve Desktop. That will bring you to the installation process, and you can pick up the VCarve installation from there. Following the registration of VCarve Desktop and the downloading of the installer, we are now ready to actually install the software that we will use for this kit. I mentioned this video will be focused on the Engraving Accessory Kit installation. So I'm going to go ahead and go into software here. And it is worth noting that the SRM-20, if you're looking for more of a standard installation, we have Dr. Engrave software compatible with the machine, which is just a very basic layout and design program for engraving. We also have Roland's SRP Player CAM software available for this machine. But again, for the Engraving Accessory Kit, we'll be focusing solely on VCarve Desktop. So I have my installer here. Again, you can find this under the product section of the Vectric website. And you'll have an installer something like this. I'm going to go ahead and run the installer now. Select yes on any prompts given. And we'll just move our way through this installer. I'm going to go ahead and install vTransfer with this one. This is like an added virtual utility that has some added benefits with the program. So I'll include that. Select next, next. And here you can see VCarve Desktop starting the extraction and installation process. So we'll give this a minute to go through its motions. Now looking ahead here, one thing we should note is that in the latest versions of VCarve Desktop, we will have the SRM-20 option built right into the machine pick list. However, if you're running an older option, you may need to install the post processor or the machine model manually for the installer. So just a heads up there. We can get to that in a later point. Alright, now it looks like our installer is just about to wrap up here. And we are ready to finish. Let's go ahead and click finish here. VCarve Desktop will launch, and we are ready to set up jobs. So a quick recap, we installed the SRM-20 driver to establish USB connectivity. We installed the virtual panel, or the vPanel utility, to use to interface with the machine, set origins, or move to park positions. And then we installed VCarve Desktop, which will be our primary interface for setting up engraving files or outputting to the machine. In the next videos, we will take a look at the Engraving Accessory Kit overview to cover what is covered within that kit, along with the physical installation of the various components included. We'll also take a look at the rotary engraving workflow for engraving with V bits on the machine, along with the diamond scribing workflow if you're looking to get into marking gifts, keepsakes, and things like that.